Spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seeds sowing, harvest reaping, man of me or me. I have yet to leave, I'm still breathing. To quit, I have no reason. I mean, I'm asleep, but I be trying to live my dream. I cannot even act if it's all easy. Either you gon' do it or you don't really. It ain't no in between. Baby, you can ask the sun. It's an everyday theme. Consistency in your routine is how you bring reality. Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece. Living like a god, I lay at night, I rest in peace. They remember me, but I am not Haram or beef.
Peace, 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 light seekers. Thank you for being here this evening, Friday, August 9th. We're here for the Friday Night BBT Book Club. We appreciate all those that are able to chime in here every Friday with us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome. We appreciate all of the support that we have here at the BBT. And I'm going to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to take a little different topic. Last week I spoke on theology. This week I'm going to speak, on a little different topic, but it's one I enjoy. It still follows under the parameters that are near and dear for a lot of people just in life, especially those of us Moors. And so without further ado, I want to first give us praises by doing our Moorish American prayer. Then I will lead directly into our reading for this evening. So, Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Ali, Shalom Aleichem, Ayah, Hotep, Islam, peace, 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 peace. So once again, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate all those who were able to chime in last week. I hope you enjoyed that reading. It's always somebody different that does it. I did it last week. I'm doing it again this week. It could be a different person that's here. If you have any specific type topics that you'd like us to read on, please ask us. Put something in the comments, or you can always send me a message at sport.barclay, BARCLAY @gmail. Let me know there's something specific that you'd like to hear. We're happy to do that. It's not a problem. We have access to more than 1 million PDF books. And you're right. I didn't stutter when I said that. Literally more than 1 million PDF books. You can find them on a couple of our platforms. One is www.mypdfbooks.com. You can also get them printed and binded, because sometimes maybe you like to have them in the digital format, but then maybe sometimes, like me, you like to flip the pages. If you want to do that, you can go ahead and search our sister site at www.bindedbooks.com to have books printed and binded and mailed to you. Shipping is free at that site. So if you got any questions, like I said, go ahead and contact us. But without further ado, I'm going to get into today's topic, which is it's a topic that, I didn't initially know a lot about, have a lot of interest in. Honestly, it was my significant other. She really started to get into astrology a number of years ago. And when she started getting into astrology and then the cosmos, it started to get me thinking about, what is this kind of stuff? I've read my natal chart. I've looked at it, tried to break it down. I know a little something, but I'm still learning a lot when it comes to this subject. But I have a piece of literature that I think I wanted to go ahead and read today that deals a little bit with astrology and the cosmos, maybe from a little different perspective, to be honest with you. But I think you'll enjoy it nevertheless. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this thing on the screen here so you can see what it is I'm reading and read along if you need to, because I think that always makes it enjoyable to do, just so that you and anybody else can enjoy what we're doing as much as possible. So this particular book that I'm reading for this publication is called Cosmos and Culture, Cultural Evolution in a Cosmic Context. This book is edited by Steve Dick and Mark Lupacella. And so it's something I kind of gotten into recently. There's a number of parts. Just to quickly kind of run through the table of contents. Obviously, we have the introduction, which is what I'm going to go ahead and read today. We have part 1, deals with cosmic evolution, a couple of different chapters. 1, the state of the science, history, culture, and human destiny. And then we have part 2, which deals with cultural evolution, which deals with state of the field, the evolution of culture, the Big Burp and multiplanetary mandate, the Evo Devo universe, which is a framework for speculations on cosmic culture, and then dangerous memes, or what the Pandorans let loose. Part 3, which deals with cosmos and culture, cosmoculture, evolution, the intelligent universe, life, mind, and cultures at fundamental properties of the universe, the value of L and the cosmic bottleneck, encoding our origins, history and science after the chronometric revolution, bringing culture to cosmos, and then a second part of bringing culture to cosmos was deal with how Shapley and the uses of Harlow Shapley and the uses of cosmic evolution. So I'm just going to go into and read specifically the introduction here. Maybe I might get into an aspect of chapter 1. It depends on how long it is. We typically try to keep these readings to less than an hour, just so that we don't ask you guys to be with us for too long, but certainly long enough so you can digest the source material that we're having here. If there are any specific words that I think are important to define, I may stop and do that just for a second, just to provide a broader context towards what we're reading. So, but without further ado, I will get here into the introduction. Cosmic evolution, the idea that the universe and its counterparts, and its constituent parts, are constantly evolving, have become widely accepted only in the last 50 years. It is no coincidence that this acceptance parallels the span of the space age. Although cosmic evolution was first recognized in the physical universe early in the 20th century, with hints even earlier, the relationships amongst planets, stars, and galaxy, and the evolution of the universe itself became much better known through the discoveries by planetary probes and space telescopes in the latter half of the century. And again, this, without it being too complicated, again, I think if you get into astrology and start looking at natal charts and things of that nature, you start studying those things. It's going to seem like a lot at first, but I assure you, once you, take a look at it, you can find a lot of information. I used a particular website, www.astrovenus.com. That's astrovenus.com was the website I used to plug in your data, and then it brings it up for you. And then that kind of started me down my journey to be able to kind of dive into it a little bit more so I can understand it. I continue. It was also during the last 50 years, a century after Darwin proposed that evolution by natural selection applies to life on our own planet, that researchers from a variety of disciplines begun to seriously study the possibilities of extraterrestrial life and the biological universe. Considering biology from the broader cosmological perspective has expanded biological thinking beyond its sample of one straitjacket incorporating biology into cosmic evolution. Astrobiology is now a robust discipline, even though it has yet to find any life beyond Earth. And just really quickly, while I'm pulling this up, just because I want to be able to define this specific definition when it comes to astrobiology. And astrobiology is an interdisciplinary and scientific field that studies the origin, the evolution, distribution, and the future of life in the universe. It seeks to answer fundamental questions about how does life begin and evolve? Is there life beyond Earth? And if so, how we can detect it? And what is the future of life on Earth and in the universe? But we know that, there was, man has been here since time immemorial, and there never was a time when man was not. And so it's important to recognize that we will always be here, and all these studies just do is provide us with a better understanding of ourselves, our connection to the universe, and how amazing life has been created for us. I continue. But there is a third component to cosmic evolution beyond the physical and the biological. Even if we only know of culture on one planet so far, cultural evolution has been an important part of the cosmic evolution on Earth, and perhaps on many other planets. Moreover, it also dominates the other two forms of evolution in terms of its rapidity. Humans were not much different biologically 10,000 years ago, but one need only look around to see how much we have changed culturally. I think that's important to recognize, is that in a lot of sense, life has been and we continue to be exactly who our ancestors were. I know there was a study, I want to say maybe last 10, 15 years. I'm probably going to get it wrong. Albert Perry, whose DNA was found to be, I want to say more than 300,000 years old, and something older than any DNA service that's out there could catalog. And so, that certainly would suggest that, and this was a quote unquote, black man or melanin person. So this is somebody whose DNA was so old that was certainly older than any DNA that we had ever, or anybody in the present day had come across, which says that, we've been around here for a long, long time, and we haven't changed a whole lot biologically, but certainly culturally, there's been a lot of changes. So I continue. Yet, unlike the study of biological evolution, which has made great progress since Darwin's Origin of Species, the scientific study of cultural evolution languished after Darwin's death for the better part of a century. Only within the past few decades has significant progress been made, and concerned with advancing their fledgling science, cultural evolutionists have yet to expand their thinking beyond the current planetary sample of one concerns. But if life and intelligence does exist beyond Earth, it is likely that culture will arise and evolve. In this volume, authors with diverse backgrounds in science, history, and anthropology consider culture in the context of the cosmos, including the implications of the cosmos for our own culture. And I think my sheik here at the Burning Bush Tabernacle did a reading just the other day that talked about Moorish Americans specifically. A lot of times misnomer Black people. We're one nation with many cultures that fall underneath it, and that sometimes we have to fight the desire to see the separation between each other and understand that fundamentally there's a lot that we have together. There's a lot that binds us. And so expanding the horizons of the science of cultural evolution to include a cosmic context has many potential benefits. As biology has benefited from broader cosmological consideration, the science of cultural evolution could also benefit from thinking in more general theoretical terms about the origin and evolution of cultures. As culture evolutionists broaden their minds to include cosmic perspectives, their insights could help guide the already substantial and continuing search for intelligent life elsewhere in the cosmos. Not least, a cultural evolutionary science that includes a cosmic context should allow for a better understanding of the relationships amongst physical, biological, and cultural evolution, steps perhaps towards a cosmic evolutionary synthesis. All of these benefits could inform the future of humanity and life in the universe. Conversely, greater attention to these problems should help us understand how our expanding knowledge of the cosmos impacts culture and cultural evolution. We are acutely aware that quote unquote culture is the amorphous and ambiguous term with an uneasy relationship to its cousin, quote unquote, society. And so it's another word I wanted to quickly define, which is amorphous. And again, so amorphous, which is lacking physical form or shape, lacking organization, which is formless, lacking a crystalline structure. So again, when we look at what we're doing here, and really kind of to go back and just read that sentence again with that definition in mind, we are acutely aware that culture, is an amorphous and ambiguous term. So it doesn't lack structure. It's not, maybe so much easily defined at times. And it has an uneasy relationships to its cousin, which is quote unquote society. Like many complex concepts, dwelling on perfect definitions of culture and in particular, cultural evolution can be tricky and perhaps even distracting because there are often blurry boundaries and intractable counterexamples. But despite the importance of clear distinctions and definitions, imperfect definitions should not prevent exploratory analysis. Often, in pursuing analyses that tolerate imperfect definitions, we find contexts and usages that help clarify, however unsatisfying, those definitions may still ultimately remain. Indeed, in this book, we do not focus explicitly on defining cultural evolution or, for that matter, life, intelligence, and culture. These matters are touched on in various ways in some chapters, but it was not an explicit intention of this effort. Indeed, the authors invoke varying uses of quote unquote culture. Nevertheless, perhaps increased clarity will come from considering the broader and theoretical explorations, shall I say, of the author's contributions. This volume is divided into three parts, beginning with the nature and history of cosmic evolution, then focusing on cultural evolution, and finally tackling more explicit themes of the relationship between cosmos and culture. In part one, Eric Chason, an astronomer who, more than anyone, has explored the significance and possibilities of cosmic evolution over the last 3 decades, provides an overarching and coherent perspective on the subject from a scientific point of view. Stephen Dick, an astronomer and historian of science who has written widely on extraterrestrial life and astrobiology, offers an overview of the history of the idea of cosmic evolution, how it has affected culture so far, and its implications for humanity's future. Part two focuses on cultural evolution itself. As such, is dominated by authors in the social sciences and humanities. Catherine Denning, an anthropologist at York University in Canada, who has become deeply involved with SETI community, provides an overview of the field of cultural evolution, or quote unquote social evolution, as she terms it. She makes it clear why the field is a difficult one, fraught with dangers, even in the terrestrial context. One of the central problems in the field has been the lack of robust theory, but towards that goal, the philosopher Daniel Dennett, the author of Darwin's Dangerous Idea, supports the notion of means, the cultural equivalent to genes, as a cultural evolution model, and finds that cultural possibility is far less constrained than genetic possibility. Indeed, psychologist Susan Blackmore, well known for her book, The Mean Machine, warns in this section that the blind replication of means can be extremely destructive and possibly cause extinction. She provides us intriguing alternative Drake equation for survivability of intelligent civilization based on means and kinds of replication. Howard Bloom provokes us with a very broad notion of culture, a multi-planet mandate deeply rooted in evolution. Systems theorist John Smart draws from a number of unique disciplines, applying an informal, evolutionary, and developmental systems model to understand the universe and the role of culture within it. NASA engineer and scientist Mark Lupicelli opens part 3 by exploring a framework for the relationships between the cosmos and culture, and offers a quote-unquote cosmocultural perspective whereby the coevolution of cosmos and culture gives rise to cosmic value. But why worry about the cosmos and culture? Physicist Paul Davies argues that life, mind, and culture are of fundamental significance to the grand story of the cosmos because life is based on a universal Darwinian mechanism that has allowed the cosmos to generate its own self-understanding through science, rational reasoning, and mathematics that may ultimately lead to a cultural evolution on a large enough scale to allow the universe to both create and steer itself towards its destiny. This suggests the potential abundance of life in the cosmos, and astronomer Seth Shostak argues that human beings, like other intelligent species, may pass through a short self-destructive destruction bottleneck, and survive for a very long time periods after dispersal in space, giving rise to many long-lived technologically advanced civilizations through the galaxy. If so, one of the greatest questions is whether humans can communicate with extraterrestrials. And Doug Vakoff, a psychologist at the SETI Institute who is written broadly on interstellar communication, explores the potential utility of using our understanding of cosmic evolution to communicate with extraterrestrial intelligence. And I know this might seem like it's, a whole bunch of overly complicated mumbo jumbo. That maybe for some isn't very interesting. I find it actually, rather interesting. I mean, again, we understand from, ancient teachings and ancient philosophies that, as above, so below, meaning what's in the cosmos above us is what actually is inside of our makeup as physical beings, that we get to see. So it's not, I think, so crazy to, hypothesize or think that, there would be an opportunity for us to be connected to the universe, not just here on, physical land, but also in the cosmos. And so, again, I find this whole topic very fascinating to me, and hopefully, you do as well. I continue. Historian David Christian argues for using cosmic evolution in an expanded view of history he terms, quote unquote, big history. But the place of humans in the scheme of cosmic evolution remains problematic, in part because we lack definitive evidence of extraterrestrials, in part because we cannot fathom our human future. Complexity theorist James Garwin suggests our transhuman future might be mimetically engineered using an quote unquote intelligent universe worldview, which would contribute to a benign future for humans who will not likely be a dominant force in the future. Finally, the volume concludes with paired articles by Stephen Dick, who plays out one specific scenario of post-biological universe that results from taking culture and the cosmos seriously, and by Joanne Palmieri, a historian of science who examines a specific case on how one far-seeking astronomer, Harlow Shapley, took the cosmos seriously as an element integral to our terrestrial culture. In the end, at least 4 general themes emerge from this volume. 1. Long-term cosmic perspectives can be theoretical and practically illuminating for reflecting on culture. 2. Cosmology deeply affects and informs culture. 3. Culture may have surprising significance in overall cosmic evolution. And 4. Expansion into the wider universe is an important, perhaps critical endeavor. It is our firm belief that these are themes that can and should be more deeply investigated as our terrestrial culture learns more about the cosmos around us. While we have certainly fallen well short of exhausting the subject, we have nevertheless attempted an initial exploration of perspectives from a variety of thinkers and practitioners. The material is based towards natural and scientific perspectives and arguably towards mechanistic and perhaps reductionist views, e.g., means and a mechanism of cultural evolution. Eastern perspectives are not properly represented, but perhaps will be in the future. This book is one of several of the societal impact of spaceflight in the NASA History series, and is directly relevant to NASA's mandate to, quote unquote, provide for long-range studies of the potential benefits to be gained from the opportunities for and the problems involved in the utilization of aeronautical and space activities for peaceful and scientific purposes. Much of NASA's work may be seen as filling in the gaps in our knowledge and of cosmic evolution. Perhaps the largest gap is still very much open question of whether humans are alone in the universe and what this means for humanity. We hope this book will stimulate a more serious field of inquiry into how culture and cosmos relate, based not only on how we understand our own cultural evolution, but on a broader theoretical grounds as well. It is only a first tentative step towards the scientific study of the relationship between cosmic and cultural evolution, of placing the rapidly growing science of cultural evolution within a cosmic context and urging a greater application of the role that the cosmos should play in our culture. And I know that's a lot to try to digest, certainly in the first thing. And so I may spend a couple of minutes just kind of reading a little bit of part one, just to kind of help you give maybe a broader context of what this author is trying to convey with this piece of literature. So part one, the cosmic context. Chapter one, cosmic evolution, state of the science. Evolution, broadly considered, has become a powerful unifying concept in all of science, providing a comprehensive worldview for the new millennium. Among all of nature's diverse systems, energy, acquired, stored, and expressed, is a principal driver of the rising complexity of galaxies, stars, planets, and life forms in the expanding universe. Our cultural curiosity is both a result of and a key to understanding myriad cosmic evolutionary events that have shaped our material origins. Introduction. Emerging now from modern science is a unified scenario of the cosmos, including ourselves as sentient beings based on the time-honored concept of change. Change does not seem to be universal and ubiquitous in nature, much as the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus claimed long ago that everything flows and nothing stays. Nowadays, we have evidence for virtually everywhere. Some of it is obvious, others subtle. From galaxies to snowflakes, from stars and planets to life itself, scientists are weaving an intricate pattern penetrating the fabric of all natural sciences, a sweepingly inclusive worldview of the order and structure of every known class of object in our richly endowed universe. Cosmic evolution is the study of the many varied developmental and generational changes in the assembly and composition of radiation matter and life throughout all space and across all time. These are the changes that have produced our galaxy, our sun, our earth, and ourselves. The result is a grand evolutionary synthesis bridging a wide variety of scientific specialties, physics, astronomy, geology, chemistry, biology, and anthropology, amongst others. A genuine narrative of epic proportions extending from the very beginning of time to the present, from the Big Bang to mankind. While entering this new age of synthesis, today's researchers are truly embracing interdisciplinarity. We are thinking bigger, broader, and more holistically. We are deciphering how all known objects, from atoms to galaxies, from cells to brains, from people to society, are interrelated. For the more we examine nature, the more everything seems related to everything else, which is something that's oh so true and something that we understand very much so. And I've come to learn, with an even more depth, throughout our studies, that everything is connected, and that's something that we lose sight of as individuals when we see our life, not understanding how connected it is to so many other things. Last week I spoke when I was speaking about theology, about how we think in terms of, well, I'm only doing something, and not really realizing how whatever you're doing is impacted by someone else, sometimes even something else. And so I think that's an important thing for us to really kind of remind ourselves, is that we don't operate in a vacuum. It's not just you doing things, by yourself. We think that way, but again, we need plants to, process, so that we can breathe air in. We need, the sun to bring life to the crops in the summertime. I mean, everything is connected in some way, shape, or form. And I don't think sometimes we are always very mindful of, or sometimes maybe we have forgotten how important we are as part of this big web that we're all kind of connected into. And so Again, I like how this book has started to kind of begin to lay out how important it is, and how important it is for us to understand how interrelated, all of these things are. I continue. Our appreciation for evolution now extends well beyond the subject of biology. Indeed, the concept of evolution, generally considered, has become a potent unifying factor in all of science. Yet question remains, how valid are the apparent continuities among nature's historical epochs, and how realistic is the quest for unification? Can we reconcile the observed constructiveness of cosmic evolution with the inherent destructiveness of thermodynamics? Specifically, how have the magnificent examples of order all around us risen from chaos? And again, order is something that's also important, whether you're trying to follow, some sort of instructions to build something. If you ever become a parent and, you're trying to raise a little person, understanding how important, order is. Obviously here with the Quran, we know that it, stands for knowledge, order, rhythm, astronomy, astrology, and nature. And so an order is an important part of life. It's hard to do anything without order. Our Sheikh talks about a lot of times, you can't do things osmosisly, that you've got to have some sort of order to your life, some sort of consistency to your life in order to be able to follow, so that you can be as successful as you can possibly be. Okay. Okay. Questions remain. How valid are the apparent continuities of nature's? Oh, actually, I read that already. Skip to the next paragraph. We especially want to know about the origins of the diverse structures spanning our universe, notably those often characterized by the intuitive term, quote unquote, complexity, a state of intricacy, complication, variety, or involvement as the interconnected parts of a system. Particularly intriguing is the rise of complexity over the course of time, indeed dramatically so within the past 500 million years since the start of the Cambrian era or Earth, resembling a kind of Neoplatonism. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word right at all. Perhaps some underlying principles, a unifying law, or ongoing process creates, organizes, and maintains all structure in the universe, enabling us to study everything on uniform, common ground, on the same mental page, so to speak. Recent research, guided by the notions of mathematical elegance and bolstered by vast new observational databases, suggests affirmative answers to some of those questions. Islands of order complexity, namely open systems that are galaxies, stars, planets, and life forms, are more than balanced by great seas of increasingly disorder elsewhere in the environments beyond these systems, all in the quantitative agreement with valued precepts of thermodynamics, especially non-equilibrium thermodynamics. Indeed, the underlying ubiquitous phenomenon mentioned above may simply be energy itself. Energy flows, engendered largely by the expanding cosmos, do seem to be as a universal, a currency in the origin of structured systems as anything yet found in nature. Furthermore, the optimization of such energy flows might well act as the motor of evolution broadly conceived, thereby affecting all of physical, biological, and cultural evolution, the sum total of which constitutes cosmic evolution. Much has presented in figure 1. So right here we have a figure that shows the physical evolution, the biological evolution, and then the cultural evolution, and how each one of these kind of works together. So I'll read kind of the synopsis they have here. Figure 1, cosmic evolution writ large. Changes in the physical, biological, and cultural domains are governed by underlying scientific principles that guide the emergence of increasingly complex structures in the universe. Resembling the beautiful stained glass window in the south transparent of the great Gothic cathedral in Paris, shown at the top right, a pattern at center actually represents a pseudo-colored array of atoms viewed along the axis of a double helical DNA molecule some 2 nanometers across. Red detonates oxygen atoms, blue, nitrogen, green, carbon, yellow, phosphorus, hydrogen is not shown. Likewise, images of color globular star clusters as at bottom left, where thousands of age red giants dominate youthful blue stars, exemplify change field events in the earlier universe. Shown here is the M80 star cluster, nearly 120 light years across and about 28,000 light years distance. Taken together, stars, genes, and art represent manifest expressions of complexity rising over the course of cosmic time. Increasingly, energy densities, typify the construction of physical and biological structures such as fusing stars and functioning molecules. Even more energy density is needed to fashion cultural entities, such as organized societies in today's global civilization. The flow of energy, as dictated by non-equilibrium thermodynamics in an expanding universe, does seem to provide a powerful means to explain the growth of order, form, and complexity on all scales, from quarks to quasars, from microbes to minds. Images courtesy of Cathedral Non-Paris, Notre Dame de Paris, University of California. Heraclitus, with his unifying mantra of all flows, would likely be proud of modern cosmic evolutionary ideas, but he would also be surprised by our huge array of empirical findings supporting those ideas. Others have been down this path before, most originally perhaps the 19th century encyclopedist Robert Chambers, who anonymously penned a pre-Darwinian tract of wide insight, and the mid-20th century astronomer Harlow Shapley, whose cosmography went well beyond biology by classifying all known structures according to dimensional size and scale. Among others, philosopher Herbert Spence championed the notion of increasing complexity in biological and cultural evolution. The mathematician Alfred North Whitehead sought to undergird broad scientific thinking with his organic philosophy, and biologist E.O. Wilson appealed to consilience for unification in the science. Arrow of Time, figure 2, which is this figure that's down here, below, shows the archetypal illustration of cosmic evolution, the arrow of time. Regardless of its shape and orientation, such an arrow represents a symbolic guide to the sequence of events that have changed systems from simplicity to complexity, from ignorance to organic, from chaos to order. That sequence, as determined by a large body of post-Renaissance data, accords well with the idea that the thread of change links the evolution of primal energy into elementary particles, the evolution of those particles into atoms, in turn of those atoms into galaxies and stars, and of stars into heavy elements, the evolution of those elements into the molecular building blocks of life, of those molecules into life itself, and of intelligent life into the culture and technological society that we now share. Despite the compartmentalization of today's academic science, evolution knows no disciplinary boundaries. As such, the most familiar kind of evolution, biological evolution, or neo-Darwinism, is just one, albeit important, subset of a broader evolutionary scheme encompassing much more than mere life on Earth. In short, what Darwinian change does for plants and animals, cosmic evolution aspires to do for all things. And if Darwinism created a revolution of understanding by helping to free us from the notion that humans differ from other life forms on our planet, the cosmic evolution extends that intellectual revolution by treating matter on Earth and in our bodies no differently from that in the stars and the galaxies beyond. Anthropocentrism is neither intended nor implied by the arrow of time, which is why some researchers prefer to draw it opening in variety and diversity, as in figure 2a. Instead of pointing anywhere in particular other than towards the figure generally, anthropic principles notwithstanding, there is no logic to support the idea that the universe was convinced to produce specifically us. We humans are surely not the culmination of the cosmic evolutionary scenario, nor are we likely to be the only technologically competent beings that have emerged in the organically rich universe. The arrow merely provides a convenient symbol, artistically depicting a mixture of chance and necessity that operate together while building increasingly complex structures, from spiral galaxy to rocky planets to thinking beings. And so you have this image here, which is the second image here, which shows the arrow and then obviously the complexity chart there below. And so I'll just read this really quickly. The stylized arrow of time highlights salient features of cosmic history, from its fiery origin some 14 billion years ago at left to here and now of the present at right. Sketched diagonally across the top are the major revolutionary phases that have produced, in turn, increasingly amounts of order and complexity among all material things: particulate, galactic, stellar, planetary, chemical, biological, and cultural evolution. Cosmic evolution encompasses all of these phases, each of which represents a course temporal duration when the emergence of key systems flourished in nature. Time is assured to flow linearly and irreversibly, unfolding at a steady pace, much as other central tenets are presumed, such as the fixed character of physical law or the notion that 2 plus 2 equals 4 everywhere. B. Rising complexity, intuitively judged. Graphed here are the qualities of the rise in order, form, and complexity of localized material structures throughout the history of the universe. The family of curves represents more an innate feeling than a quantitative proof, in accordance with the subjective impression that complex order structures have generally increased, with some exception, over the course of time. Whether the rise of complexity has been linear, exponential, or hyperbolic, as sketched here, current research aims to specify this curve is to characterize it empirically for an objective view. See thing 5. And I'll read this last little paragraph and we'll kind of conclude here. Nor does time's arrow mean to imply that quote unquote lower primitive life forms biologically change directly into higher advanced organisms any more than galaxies physically change into stars or stars into planets. Rather, with much time, the environmental conditions suitable for spawning primitive life eventually changed into those favoring the emergence of more complex species. Likewise, in the earlier universe, environments were ripe for galactic formation, but now those conditions are more conducive to stellar and planetary formation. Change in the surrounding environment often precedes change in ordered systems, and the resulting system changes have generally been towards greater amounts of diverse complexity. Figure 2b. Grasped by the widespread impression, the material assemblages have become more organized and complex, especially in the relatively recent times. This family of curves refers to islands of complexity that are systems per se, whether swollen stars or buzzing bees, not to the vastly, indeed increasingly disorganized sea of chaos surrounding them. Modern science aims to explain the rise of complexity, and to do so with known scientific principles that avoid mysticism, vitalism, creationism, and the like. So, quite an interesting read. And again, I'm just at the very beginning of this. Again, I find this subject somewhat fascinating, and you know, you may as well. It's something that I think I continue to be enamored with, how connected we are to everything in life, and not looking at ourselves as strictly just here in this particular moment, and not understanding, you know, on not just a physical standpoint, but on a spiritual or metaphysical standpoint, how connected we are to everything else that's happening here. And that the disharmony maybe at times that we all see or feel is a reflection of how we are as a giant body of people. You know, again, you know, we have various nations, various cultures, but there still is one connection. We all come from one source. You really were to spend time, I think studying any religion, you realize a lot of them are monotheistic. They all believe in, one source, and, whether they call that source, God or Allah or Christian or, whatever the case may be. The basic tenets, are all there to kind of look at how things are. And sometimes we spend time looking at our differences instead of appreciating those things that we share commonalities with. So again, I just want to take an opportunity to read a little bit of this book, Cosmos and Culture, one that I find very fascinating just because of my interest in astrology and looking how it has become a bigger part of understanding who I am and really helping me see the connection between myself and, my everyday people that I run across, whether it be, in business, at work, and the various aspects and duties that I like to endeavor with. But more importantly, just understanding, again, as the old adage of as above, so below, how connected I am to the universe, how connected I am to the cosmos, how my body and how it functions is in a lot of sense a reflection of what's going on. And so that's helped me want to expand and understand a lot more than I used to be honest with you. So again, I want to say thank you for being here with us today. I hope you got something, out of that. I try to do my best job with reading and trying to pronunciate as many of those words, properly. I think for the most part, I did a pretty good job. I'm sure a couple of them I butchered. So I certainly didn't need to keep trying to, find the best way because obviously trying to pronounce things as best you can, it gives you a better sense of being able to really have a full understanding of the context by which the word was put together in the first place. So with that, I want to say thank you for joining us today on this Friday night book club. We love to have you every Friday at 6 p.m. I'm here on the West Coast, so it's Pacific time. It's 8 a.m., 8 p.m. Central, and 9 on the Eastern side of the United States. So whatever time works for you, whatever time you can get on here, even if you got to go back and watch these things, we certainly just appreciate you taking the time and hopefully learning something from us. Again, if you have any questions, you can send me specific messages at sport.barclay, BARCLAY @gmail.com. Again, if you want to visit our temple and school, you can do so at www.bbtsciencetemple.com. Otherwise, I want to say peace and love and thank you for being here with us. Peace.
I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seeds sowing, harvest reaping, man of me to me. I have yet to leave, I'm still breathing. To quit, I have no reason. I mean, I'm asleep, but I be trying to live my dreams. I cannot even act if it's all easy. Either you gon' do it or you don't really. It ain't no in between. Baby, you can ask the sun. It's an everyday thing. Consistency in your routine is how you bring reality. Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece. Living like a god, I lay at night, I rest in peace. They remember me, but I am not around.